30 yet, is it?
Right on the nose.
We're waiting for you. Okay, got everybody here, so we'll call the meeting to order. Need a motion to declare,
Oh, we say, I didn't put the pledge on for the hearings,
Sorry.
excuse me. We do. Anyway, that was just a good little exercise and stand up, get a little blood.
Motion to declare an open meeting.
So moved.
Second. Okay, move and second to declare an open meeting, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 3, notification of Open Meetings Act, posted on the door in the back of the room. Roll call, myself, yes, Justin?
Present.
Melissa?
Yep.
Chance?
Yep.
Caden? Here. Wyatt?
Here.
Okay, for 5, approve the agenda for the special hearing. Changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
Move and second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Number 6, presentation of the proposed budget for 25-26 school year.
Okay, you've got a preview copy. There's just been I've made a couple of minor edits today. I'll make sure I point those out to you. So this is for the good of our viewing public and our present public. So just a couple of key factors that we want to start with. Always good to kind of just compare where things are just year over year. Salaries, personnel salary is going to increase by 5.3%. That's a little high, but of course, in full context, we know that last year we were down 1 certified staff member. We were able to fill that position, so it's not exactly a apples to apples comparison since we had that factor in there. Health insurance increased to the district 6.1%. That's given a couple of changes. Some staff members that went from single to family or went from spouse only to family insurance because they had their first child. So we did have a couple of health insurance boosts that we have every year. We have some people that move from one tier to another. Overall personnel increased 5.7. General tax asking decrease by 2%, as you know, just about 110% in general fund tax asking decrease, and we'll reveal some of those reasons why in some further slides. Special building fund tax asking increase 117%. Of course, we're going from a 2-cent levy to just over a 4-cent levy, so just a little more than double. So total tax asking increased 2.5%. Okay, and here's your personnel expenses, which is the overwhelming majority of your budget, as you know. And it certainly is. Nobody would argue that this isn't the place where most of our expenses should go. It should go to our good people that carry out the day-to-day business of education. So the ones in bold are fixed numbers. We know practically to the dollar what those will be, and that's due to contractual agreements, yes? So the ones that are not bold are best guesstimates based on trends and any other significant changes that maybe we have had. Okay, property valuations, no surprise to anybody. They had leveled off after the spikes in the early 2010s, and then we've had a 12%, a 14%, a 10% over the course of the past 3 years. So, you know, people can discuss and argue and debate the rationale, the reasoning for that. It's really quite irrelevant to our business, to be quite honest. It is what it is. But so those are the numbers we have to work with. Of course, our property valuation did boost over $1 billion for this next fiscal year. State aid, we're in our 3rd year of foundation aid. I mistakenly told you that they were increasing that from $1,500 a student to $1,590. That was discussed in the unicameral, so I had that number in my head. It didn't pass. We're still $1,500 per formula student in state aid, and we are still 80% reimbursement in SPED. So those are the 2 significant changes that we're going into our 3rd year of, and so that is quite helpful and does help to manage your tax asking quite a bit. General fund tax request, you can see just that minor dip that I mentioned on that first slide. So really, I mean, I think it's good that you can show that this is over about 4 years, we're holding steady really pretty well over the course of the last 4 years. Building fund tax request, We had those spikes, we went from a penny and a half back in 14-15, as high as 9 cents for 3 years in a row, down to 7, down to 6, down to 2.2 last year, and now back up to just over 4 cents in the building fund this year. So those 6 years worth of those tall bars essentially funded these investments and future investments. So I think it's important for our stakeholders to know that we've tried to be reasonable and responsible with taking care of our facilities and investing in necessary upgrades and restorations. So the column on the right towards the bottom, in fact, I believe the last 5 would be investments yet to happen over the course of maybe the next couple of years. So that was conversations we had in the budget workshop to request an increase or a doubling of the building fund levy in anticipation of these expenses, which you as a board obviously will have some decisions to make if you want to follow through with some of those things over the course of the next year or two. Of course, Lincoln Avenue paving is currently underway and is probably be the biggest expense of any of those on those last 5 bullets. Total tax asking up a tick just because of the doubling of the building fund tax request. Cost per pupil. Now, this is not a trend of Plainview's cost per pupil. I wanted you to see where we were with all these other schools in our conference and in the region. This isn't necessarily a budgeting factor, but it's something that folks generally want to know. They're curious about this. How much are we spending on every student? And it's generally shocking to people. You know what every formula student, what our investment is. Cost maybe shouldn't be the right word. Investment per pupil would maybe be better. But we're reasonable. We're very reasonable, folks. You know, we're 1, 2, 3, 4th out of 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We're 4th out of 14 schools in Northeast Nebraska. Some of these, you know, LCC's got a bond on here, so they're the highest because part of their cost per pupil was a recently passed bond election just a few years ago. So each one is an individual story, it's true, and so without knowing all their individual stories, it's not entirely fair to compare, but yet we do, because people are curious about these things. So we do have a low cost per pupil compared to our contemporary schools in the region. K-12 enrollment, this is, you know, for whatever reason, we've rebounded really pretty well from our low about 10 years ago. And we've got our highest enrollment over the course of the past 15 years. And so that's positive and that's encouraging. That you would know as well as I what the reasons for that might be. But it is
School
good.
close or not?
Say again?
I thought I heard something about the Zion school closing. Is that kind of
I've heard that every year for many, many years. I think it's just speculation, but.
Yeah. So they still go to 6th grade? Or do
They do.
No.
No, they don't go to
Oh.
6th grade.
It's
Third or
maybe
fourth-
3rd.
Third or 4th.
Yeah.
I think they ran out of, they did go to 6th grade up until last year, but that 6th grader, or 5th grade, they came here. They only had like 1 or 2, so, that's not a significant factor that their numbers are
Not
really
anymore.
decreased. You guys would know better than me
Yeah,
probably,
used to
but,
be.
yeah. So, very healthy, and of course our enrollment, and I did include, the beginning of the year enrollment breakdown by grade and by boy and girl in your folder. So it's encouraging to see numbers in the high 20s all the way down to pre-K. So I think we can anticipate having a robust enrollment for a Class D school for years and years and years to come. We don't see something on the horizon that gives us great cause of concern that we're gonna have an enrollment concern over the course of the next 12 years. And I think it's a little, to try to project beyond 12 years, maybe isn't the wisest thing to do. So, facts about your levy. Based on our present property valuation, each penny of levy generates approximately $100,000 tax income. County treasurer gets some, so our tax receipts are closer to $90,000 per penny. Valuation levy trends, so, you know, again, just going back to 2018-19, down the left-hand column, move over to the right-hand column and go down. Bottom right shows us where we are this fiscal year. There's your valuation, up 12%. So you can see last year we were up 14, previous year we were up 10, and then there were smaller single-digit numbers. Actually had a couple decreases back-to-back years. Total tax levy, or 52.527, which is 9% lower than the fiscal year just ended. Total taxes generated is 2.5% higher. As I mentioned, we're asking for less taxes in the general fund, but we're asking for more in the building fund for an overall tax asking increase of 2.5%. Okay, general fund total. So this was a new sheet that I threw in here. I just wanted you to see what we've budgeted for each of the last 10 fiscal years and what our actual spending was. Okay, because we always budget for more than you spend, and you can kind of see that over in the right-hand side. I put on there the percent increase in actual spending. So I think the center column is really the most important one. Yes, you budget, and that's for planning purposes, and, you know, some educated guesses about, you know, potential expenditures, and some budgeting for some unexpected things. Are we gonna have $100,000 in unexpected expenses? Are we gonna have $250,000? Well, those are conversations that we have as a superintendent, as a full board. But we never actually spend everything that we budget. But what's interesting over here, minimal increases in actual expenditures until we get up to about COVID. Okay, that was definitely a factor for everybody that was spending money. Of course, we had robust increases in salaries for classified staff, and healthy ones for your certified staff as well. Not to mention just other depreciable expenses. Everything went up about COVID time. Then we kind of rebounded back down to just about a 4% actual general fund total, which would be about the rate of inflation. This last year, 8%. So this jump is equated to the fact that 300,000 of this number, 300,000 of that is in CD investment.
So just to clarify, that's not 0.8%, that's actually just 8%.
8%, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So I could, yes, the way it's written,
Right.
yeah, okay. So it's 8%.
The bottom ones are fractions of a percent.
8%. Bottom ones are a fraction of 1%, less than half of a percent. So if we were to, so that 300,000 is not money out the door, that's money in investment. But it still has to show as a general fund expenditure. So if we take that, if we didn't have that 300,000 in CD investment, this would be closer to 4%, right? So that's why that spike is there, but not to be concerned that we spent twice more of an actual percentage than we did the previous year. That's due to your CD investment. Okay, general fund tax asking. So over the course of, this is about a 15-year trend. Okay, so I think it's important to know if you go from this number on the bottom to this number, yes, that's a $1.4 million. That's a $1.4 million difference. But the average increase over all these years is about 2.6%, which is maybe less than the cost of inflation, really likely probably is. So you are, I think you're doing a fine job, a defensible job with your annual increases in your general fund tax asking. Okay, estimated revenues for this coming fiscal year in the general fund. Okay, so those are going to be on your budget document. Nothing on here of any great significance. This is now year 3 of having a significant number here in investments from the state. The governor strongly believes, as we've said several times, that he thinks it's the state's responsibility to fund public education. The local boards govern it, but the state should fund it. He firmly believes that. Whether he'll get all the way there to having it be closer to 100% funding, may not be in this, it won't be in this term, it may not even be in a second, but you gotta give him credit for following through on a campaign promise for sure.
Are we year to year on that, or is that like a 3-year cycle and then we're at the end of it, or how's that?
It was initially funded for 3 years, yes, but they've got funds in it to continue. So it
Okay.
started as We've got funds for 3 years for the foundation aid and for the sped reimbursement, but they've reinvested, even though they're saying, anticipating a budget shortfall, and they told us it's gloom and doom at administrator days, that they're anticipating a significant budget shortfall. And then the very next week, I see in the World Herald that tax revenue receipts were higher than anticipated last month and the previous month. So you never know. It's the forecasting board that says, we're headed for a budget shortfall. Well, when they meet next month, they may say, oh, we were wrong, we're really not headed for a budget shortfall, it's gonna be neutral, or, so it's the forecasting board, but it does affect, obviously, the way the unicameral thinks and the way they maybe plan from a budgetary standpoint. I don't anticipate this going away, if that is kind of to your, yes, kind of to your, which I think the governor knows that he would have put us in a huge pickle if the unicameral doesn't continue to fund this, because now we're dependent upon it. And if this goes away, we will see pretty good spikes in tax asking across the state, because that foundation aid is for every school district across the state.
So a couple slides ago where it was like the amount budgeted and actual, so like what
Yeah.
happens to that difference of that number? Like, some of them was like, are like over $1 million.
Yeah.
So like, where did that money go? Did it just go?
We never had it. We
had it.
really never had it, Chance. So when we use the term budgeted, sometimes that means resources available. So I got a slide coming up just here in a couple, actually, it's the next one we'll get to. Sometimes budgeted and total resources available are used synonymously, so we don't, if we use the term budgeted, we don't anticipate to collect nor spend $8.2 million. But it's total resources that are in each of those funds, okay?
So then we like
so-
actually collected 6.7, but
No, we
collected
didn't,
more than that.
we didn't
probably,
even,
right?
we didn't even collect that much, because we do start every year with a balance, with a healthy balance, particularly this year. But I've got a comment with regard to that here in a second too. So it's, I don't ever want to simplify it to the point that, similar to how a family might operate that runs a strict budget and has many different funds or pots that they anticipate expenditures in. So if you've got funds in a lot of pots, your total, availability, of your funds, if you add them all up, it looks like you maybe have a significant amount, but you don't anticipate spending them down to zero every year. And also, part of our beginning balance does include that $1 million in CDs now. So it is inflated a little bit. Now, obviously, those are funds that you have access to that you really kind of have actually set aside. So we're bloated a little bit in our starting balance, which they always say, just kind of be careful that you don't think you've got all this extra money on hand. This year's just a little bit different. I'll comment on that here in just a second. So total resources available. So here's that in the general fund, $8.2 million, all the funds. So these are the totals that are budgeted, quote unquote, that we have to account for and that we have to show disbursements for. So each of these funds has to balance. And so if I have $225,000 in depreciation from the top half of my budget document, I have to have the same amount in my disbursements. So it does show as a disbursement. Now, we're not going to disperse all that. We're not going to spend $500,000 also in activity. And we're not going to spend, $1 million in building fund this next year. We'll anticipate carrying over some of that, for example, though. And so we'll slowly, over the course of a year or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever your priorities are, we'll grow that amount, okay, in your general fund. So total resources available, so it's inflated. We don't spend that, and we certainly don't collect, about half of that we're going to ask for in tax asking. But we will not disperse this amount, even though these amounts show in my disbursements page on my budget document. Okay, the LC2 is a complicated document. I'm going to show it to you here in a second. And I started sharing this slide with you last year just to show how the state does have many safeguard caps on that limit school district tax asking and expenditures. Okay, so the LC2 is designed to help schools stay within the statutory expenditure limits. You can see all those caps then that we have. And one of those caps, of course, you vote to increase by that 7%. I'm gonna show you that on the LC2 here in a second. We've been fortunate to avoid the JPH the last 3 years. That I think means something, okay? And this, I think, is important information. Each of the last 3 years, we could have asked for more taxes than what we have. So and this year, it's quite significant, almost twice what it was the previous year. So we have 1.2, almost 1.2 million of unused property tax authority, according to the LC2. Which, maybe I'm just gonna pull that up for you right now, real quick, so just stay with me for just a second. Okay, so here's the LC2 document. This is almost all pre-populated once I upload my budget. So I go here and I find my budget and I upload it, and then these are all pre-populated. And all those caps that I just showed you, they will kick in on several of these sections. And what you don't wanna see are any red numbers. I mean, I've been playing with this now for a couple of months. And then I always show this to the folks in the finance office of the Department of Education. So first thing they do is they say, okay, you don't have any red numbers. This is oftentimes one that where you'll find, and then you gotta work with your budget if you've got a red number on unused budget authority. Okay, here is where you voted yes. Did 70% of the school board approve to exceed the certified property tax? Yes. Maximum amount allowed, $492. Enter the amount approved, $492. We won't spend that, but that does put you in a position, and it's part of the answer to why you've got increases each of the last several years in unused property tax authority. Okay, so it hasn't affected our tax asking, but it has put you in a better position with regard to, can I go backwards? No, I'll have to start over. So it's just it's a good story to be able to tell. It's a justification that you are planning to approve a reasonable budget. Okay, so I think there's several things throughout this slide deck that you could use to justify the budget that we're asking you to pass tonight for next fiscal year.
What's the capital allowable reserves? Is that, what do you have, like that balance carrying forward? Is that what that is, or is that something different?
It is on the LC2, if I can come back to it. I'm looking for that one with you right now, Jeff.
Right there, section C.
Total allowable reserves, yeah, thank you. So, once I upload the budget, this number comes off of one of those spreadsheets. And if my spreadsheet has more than 3.697 in reserves, so this is necessary cash reserve number that comes off of one of my spreadsheets. So I'll be honest with you, a whole lot of these things I wouldn't be able to explain in layman's terms to somebody. That's just the reality of the LC2 document.
It's not necessarily the amount of money you carry over from year to year.
It is not.
Okay.
It's not your carryover balance.
Okay.
That's for depreciation, correct?
No.
Or partial?
Your depreciation is piggy bank from the general fund.
Okay.
Um,
I thought that's where you said you stuck this carryover from this fiscal year to the next one.
Well, that's true, you can.
About 100,000.
You can. If you wanna spend down, once you get to the end of fiscal year,
Yeah.
and you find that, okay, we haven't had, any significant unexpected expenses, our actual is way under budgeted, maybe we're gonna move X amount of dollars to depreciation. If I didn't budget for it, I usually don't like to do it. So I've been a little more liberal the past couple of years in asking for money to depreciation. It wasn't a tactic for my first several years as superintendent that I really thought was necessary to use. But I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit. I'd like to beef the depreciation fund up, so I think it gives you a little more flexibility, the future superintendent, a little more flexibility, because essentially, it's a piggy bank to buy high-value items, generally six-figure items, that depreciate over the course of many years, so you can plan for it, put a little bit in depreciation every year. When that expenditure comes, you don't have a $200,000 check to write, you've been writing checks to that piggy bank each year. Okay, and now I'm gonna do this play from current slide, or is that one right there? Okay, that was the smart thing I should have did last time. Okay, so then here's your primary budget document for which we're having the hearing. All of these numbers were in the previous slide, about 2 or 3 back, which showed this $10 million number. Now notice it's significantly more than these, but this number next year, when this column scoots over, this number will be closer to this number. Okay, because they'll be actual expenditures, these are just budgeted expenditures. Budgeted or resources, total resources available is better term than budget. Okay, so that's my presentation on the budget hearing side.
Thanks for putting together those slides, it's always good to see all that information. Anybody else have any more questions?
So we're asked, our levies going down, but in the end, we'll get, well, no, hang on. Our general fund levy's less.
Correct.
So the money going into our general fund is less.
Correct.
Well, we lowered our levy enough, so our general fund's actually getting less money, but we increased our special building fund.
Yep.
And so our total tax is higher.
Total tax asking is actually lower. I'm sorry, total levy
Yeah,
is lower. Total tax asking is slightly up.
that's different.
Correct.
That's 2 different things? Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Due to the 12% increase in valuation.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
which drives the levy down, but it doesn't drive your tax asking down. So we obviously still need the same or more. So we're running a little bit of a risk this fiscal year to actually ask for less in general fund tax asking, because we think that's, number one, you trust that I can pay the bills over the course of the next fiscal year. That's partly because we have a significant carryover balance, okay? And if we've got to dip into some flex CD funds, I think it's worth having driving down the levy and asking for less taxes when we're going into a bond election. And we had that conversation, obviously, so. Well, on that one, they get a vote.
I know.
Yeah, thanks. Love you too.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions, comments from the public about the budget? If not, take a motion to adjourn this particular meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Justin.
Second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to our next meeting. Special hearing on the 2025-26 tax request. I'll call the meeting to order. We need another motion to declare an open meeting.
So moved.
Okay, got a second?
Second.
Move to second, to declare an open meeting, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Notification Open Meetings Act, again, is posted on the door in the back of the room. Roll call, myself, yes. Justin?
Present.
Melissa? Chance? Here. Caden?
Here.
Mike? Okay. Number 5, approve the agenda. Roll call to vote. You got any changes to that?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Second.
Move to second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Number 6, presentation of the proposed tax request for 25-26.
Okay, yes, Justin, you got ahead of me just a touch. Here we have. Yep. And it's very procedural, so thanks for following through with these legal procedures. And so I can blow this up a little bit for you, but this reveals for you precisely what the previous many slides and a 22-page budget document produced. So, tax request slightly lower than last year's 5.2, 5.1. Levy of 55 cents, 55.6 cents, 55 and a half last year, 48 and a half for this fiscal. Building fund, 2 cents, generated $207,000 last year, 2.2 cents. 4.3 cents, which would generate $431,000. Your total tax asking 5.561, slightly higher in a total tax request. You have to go back many decades to find a levy that low. I know, again, I know that's not the whole story, but it does show, I think, a responsibility by the board to respond to spikes in valuations. To have that be reflected in a lower levy. I think that's a good story to be able to tell.
So we're only talking about a 2.5% increase in tax ask. And anybody here that runs a business anyway knows that 2.5% increase anyway in your expenses, that I wish I could stay within those boundaries. That's a pretty good job. You balance that, Dr. Crum, so. I think it's as good as it can get, if you ask me, guys.
We gotta balance.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Any questions, comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, we'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Need a second to adjourn the special tax request hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Meeting adjourned.
When do we vote on it?
Coming up. It's the first action. All right. Well, I get 7:03, so we will call the regular meeting, the September board to order. We'll start by saying the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Another motion to declare an open meeting.
So moved.
Okay. Second? I'll second. Moving second to declare an open meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Notification of the Open Meetings Act is posted on the door in the back of the room. Roll call. Melissa?
Yep.
Justin?
Present.
Myself here. Wyatt?
Present.
Hayden?
Here.
Chance? Here. Okay, number 6, approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Moving second to approve the agenda. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Move then on to the number 7, the consent agenda, starting with the minutes of the meetings for last month. Everything looks all right, minutes. Any other questions? We'll move on then to the financial reports.
So this is a good document that I have displayed up here, which you had in your packet, which shows, the entire fiscal year. And this is the first year that I put this together. I kind of regret that I don't have a trend data, going back years and years and years. So, we'll have this, throughout this next fiscal as well. Which shows percent of budget spent, right, which is I think a good number to know. How well did we do with anticipating, expenses, so. This is kind of a new one that now has us through an entire fiscal year.
CDs are all fully funded now, back to.
Yeah, you can keep investing in them, so that would be somewhere you could go with it. If you got extra funds, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but depreciation or flex, you have pretty similar access to them, but of course, our CD interest rate is gonna be higher than our depreciation fund interest rate. But yeah, good to see that back to $1 million, it's been a few years.
Other comments on the financials? Now we'll move on to the claims for the month.
Dr. Alt, I'm pretty sure I'm the guy who signed the check, but I didn't recognize what exactly the invoice was stating. Anyway, Justin brought it up, school outfitters.
Yes.
Supplies, tables for $9,300.
Yes.
What explain that just a little bit?
There's a picture of them right there. So those are in the art room just across the hallway.
Okay.
So when I did ask Mrs. Solacek, I said, well, I would like you to come and share with the board your appreciation for the purchase of these tables. But I certainly wasn't gonna expect her to come to the meeting tonight, but I did ask her to just share a couple thoughts, and so she sent this message. The art room has always, to anyone's knowledge, relied on folding banquet tables for our students to work on. That's K through 12, and so those are actually leaning up against the wall there in the hallway, essentially just banquet tables. The last round of folding tables we had for many years gave students very little space to work and did not allow for proper seating for some of our larger elementary grades. Art is hard on any table, even with careful use. From wedging clay to thousands of pencil strokes across paper a week, we really needed to find a better solution that would give our students the elbow room they needed, as well as hold up to creative use by almost the entire student population on a weekly basis. These tables are specifically made for an art room, and they are exactly what we needed to best utilize our space, which is limited space, as you know. The new tables and stools will provide for proper seat and space for every artist in Plainview. We will get to enjoy them for many generations to come. So they're designed for art. They're made obviously incredibly sturdy. We got what we paid for. She wanted stools just to help maximize space, so we don't have banquet tables and chairs like these that you're sitting in occupying too much of this space. And so these, as she mentioned, will last and will support what she wants to do beyond her career here and well into her successors. So, for necessary furniture for the art room.
Is that kind of expenses, like, you know, we've got our $5,000 board approval? but,
Yeah.
Like, are there certain categories, we had talked about that earlier?
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't, bills or some things or
Yeah.
require board approval or some don't.
Yeah.
We bought some furniture in the past. How does that
Yeah,
work?
so in the past, when we've needed new desks or purchases, things that I wouldn't necessarily consider discretionary, right? So it's maybe an interpretation of, hey, this would be kind of fun, nice to have some, but this I consider to be a necessary classroom expense for the purpose of her curriculum, being able to carry out her duties. When we purchased new desks, I think for Mr. Ashford's classroom a couple years ago, I mean, they were good, hard, sturdy, stable. I guess folks would probably recognize that I don't like to buy things that are cheap and that will wear out and that somebody else gets to replace in just a few years. I think it's good and important to invest in quality. I think it shows that we're invested in your program, we support your efforts, and if the proper type of furniture, you've been using banquet tables that don't even have a smooth surface. You know, so if you're drawing a piece of paper on these banquet tables, you know, I mean, I don't know why we tolerated that for as long as we did, but we finally have, I shouldn't say, we've got a teacher here who is elite, and we feel good about all our teachers certainly, but, you know, we've talked about her space for months and for years, and obviously it's gonna maybe be a priority in our discussions, but, she just couldn't operate when she had a full elementary class in there, and her high school classes are growing, because she's very popular and people love her program. So this helps us be able to accommodate the number of kids, and also to do the things that she asks them to do throughout her curriculum. So, yeah, they're very heavy, can't be moved. I mean, kids won't just slide them around here and there, like we did with banquet tables. So it's an investment in our program that will serve us for decades to come.
So I don't argue she's a great teacher, and I don't argue this classroom needed it. But in the policy, it doesn't say anything regarding, oh, it's needed, or those demands. It's a $5,000 cap. I mean, I feel this is something that the board should have been aware of sooner, and I don't see why we wouldn't have approved it. But that's that 5,000. I mean, I don't see any language in here, unless, and again, we talk about interpreting language and things. I don't see any language where it says because the classroom needed it, that it's now exempt of the $5,000 cap. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that, but I mean, it's done. And I don't, yeah, they're great. Like I said, I think the board, I don't see why the board wouldn't have approved it, but I think it would have been good for the board to be aware of it in advance before doing it. I mean, I'm stepping out. You guys feel that this is exempt of the $5,000? I mean, as we look forward at this new, get into our new year, we're gonna run into a lot of these things.
Policy is on it.
It's 706-1.
Music risers, you don't follow.
Yeah,
We did approve that.
and we had the board approve that through a motion. So it's just a matter of us being able to keep track of where our money's going and knowing where it's going. I mean, we talk about expenditures, we had discussion, earlier today regarding the video board. And we approved the video board, we approved the structure. But there's several expenditures which we have not seen yet that are over the $5,000 as well. And again, I feel those were expenditures that the board should have been made aware of in advance. Again, don't see us not approving those things, but it's all just a matter of us all being on the same page. Because,
5,000 is 5,000.
well, that's why, I mean, like you make like utilities. I mean, there are, but like reading through here, I think it talks about utilities or long-term agreements, 3-year agreements and such. Because it's just a matter of us keeping track of where our money's going. Again, the video board, we've approved the structure, we've approved the board, but beyond those 2 expenses, 2 or 3 expenses, I don't necessarily know until we have those conversations where we're even at with that budget. And eventually those expenses are gonna land on our lap, the work's been done. So our hands are tied on where that is, so. Again, I just wanna be looped in where our finances are.
More information would be better when it comes to those type of expenses, just so everybody knows where we sit.
Had a question on the branching minds, the web cloud, is that a subscription service, I assume?
Yeah.
That'd be one of those multi-year agreement deals we have with them, or?
I think that's an annual expense, is that right? And that's to help our teachers incorporate AI in the classroom.
I remember having it part of this.
Okay, that's the branching mind, that's the one, okay, that's what it is. Is that AI service that we're talking about?
Yeah.
No, it's
No,
not
that's
the AI
Brisk.
service.
That's Brisk.
Oh, that's
Brisk
Brisk.
is AI.
sorry.
Branching Minds is
Branching
our
Minds is
data
student
hub.
data hosting system, I'm sorry.
Yep.
It was in front of us. We approved it.
We did, okay.
We did.
We just switched over.
Yep, we did.
I just caught that.
And did Branching Minds replace something that we already had to help with our student data?
No.
It's different.
Power School didn't do some of that.
I don't know what's going on. We use Google Sheets for everything, so.
And this is year what of Branching Minds?
3.
It's been around a couple of years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what's branching minds used for? Just,
It's our data collection hub. I mean, all of the data that our teachers provide throughout the school year in their classroom or assessment information is all one grand central station.
like grades and such, or?
Nope.
It's separate, okay.
Mhm.
So all of our standardized testing, MAP scores, all that stuff gets put in there, and then it allows us to tier kids for interventions and shows, allows us to break it down, who's under the 40th percentile, who's in the 10th. And then what kind of interventions we can do with each kid and which one we've used, and so we track all that. Behaviors are monitored through that, so parent-teacher conference kid says, or parent says, how's my kid behaving? We have a log of everything that's going on. If we're trying to get a kid into a behavior school or anything like that, it just keeps track of everything.
So when the state requests data, it's easily accessible through our Branching Minds, so it's.
That's different than the Power School.
Student data hub.
Correct.
Power Schools are communication with our stakeholders.
Okay, just communication.
Yeah.
Yep.
Communication and accessibility of student basic data. I don't believe we put achievement assessment data in Power School.
Power
Math
School is going to be
scores.
your attendance, day-to-day test scores, and classroom assessment. Any questions on the claims?
Are you keeping the tables, the basic tables that we're not?
Yeah, they'll go back into general circulation.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely.
I didn't know we were using those. So they're using when we were in school.
Went off like the car.
I don't know what they're called, but I think that they look kind of like tables like this, I think.
Well, they're folding tables.
Yeah.
Those are them right there in the hallway, right?
So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
So we move to second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Number 8, celebration of excellence.
Yeah, we really should bring that to you every month, without exception, but due to maybe an earlier start to the meeting and maybe a little lengthier meeting, we we didn't invite somebody this month.
Okay, number 9, public comment. Anybody want to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none. Move on to discussion items. Starting number 10, EMS services.
So Chief Kanowski, and I put a copy of this in your folder. He shared this language with me. I think his folks, I don't know that it's in your packet, I think it's in a separate sheet in your folder. Towards the back, so it's gonna look just kinda like this. Let's see, let me bring that up. No, you've got a hard copy there. He asked if the board was comfortable with this language. I said, I think on his end, that there's maybe an expectation or a pressure for EMS to make sure they communicate carefully with their local schools on what the expectations would be for EMS services at Friday night football games. And in your small communities, if you're a one ambulance town, what might happen if that ambulance gets called away during the football game? Do they stop the football game and wait until they have EMS services on hand? And so, given the fact that we've got a doctor on the sideline and they've got a jump bag that the EMS can leave, he wanted to run this language by you. And I think maybe even like you to go ahead and make a motion and approve this as the practice that you accept for EMS services at Friday night football games. This probably reflects what we've done for years, but they quite reasonably feel that they want the board to be in agreement with current practice and what they think is reasonable going forward.
Would there be just looking now, is there a policy that this should be twined in with?
Not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't have to be a policy. It's just it's a memorandum of understanding. But if I were to ask our policy subscription service, do you have a policy about EMS services for Friday night football games? I don't know that they have one. They'd probably say, feel free to pass whatever you want locally. So while if you approve this, it doesn't need a policy number to be placed in our policy handbook. And it's really for their practice, not yours.
What's our practice for other sports like basketball, wrestling?
We have EMS services that generally comes to our wrestling invitational. I don't know that that's standard like your Friday night football. And obviously I think you understand why that's been general practice probably for decades at every public school varsity football game only. They don't come to JV games, they don't come to junior high games. It's just common practice to be there on Friday night.
Seems like pretty reasonable.
And this policy.
I don't see how you do it any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
because he and I did talk about it, and just kind of a couple of what-ifs scenarios, right? What if we get called away? He said, do the officials, and he had reasonable questions, does the NSAA have an expectation? NSAA says, local level, you decide what you want to do. The NSAA does not mandate any type of EMS services at our local contests, so. So we had a couple of what-ifs, and essentially I just said, Josh, you tell us what you want. I mean, tell us what you can handle, and, I don't think the board's gonna push back and expect something different. You're the experts. So he shared this language. I said, Josh, that looks great. I'll share it with the board. He'd probably like you to make a motion in a second and approve it. And I think that's reasonable to do, even though it's not an action item.
Like a what'd you call it?
Memorandum of understanding.
Memorandum of understanding. So I'll make what, to acknowledge it or to?
I just make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with our local EMS services for.
I will make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with our local EMS services as presented.
Doesn't that have to be an action item for us to do that?
No, you can take action on any item on the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the memo of understanding between the school and the Plainview Fire and EMS for Friday night. Further discussion?
If we word that, it's probably not just necessarily for Friday night games, but just say Friday.
Oh, for
All
all varsity.
varsity football.
Varsity football.
Yeah.
No other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote. Self, yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Chance?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Number 11, CM selection.
So you're gonna have an action item down in number 21, so this discussion item is just for opportunity for the committee to share out with the full board procedures of the last week and their recommendation for action item 21.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, okay. Committee selected house home construction. Steve Teal was here, Jeff Berniker, and the rest of their team. I guess, it was close between them and Boyd Jones, as the top two. I guess we felt like their strong local ties, they might give us the best chance. Pass it on, whatever we decide, whether it's the school or private.
What's the local title house?
Well, Steve Teal lives in Clearwater.
Oh,
for example.
okay.
And
He's
Jeff
part of-
Berniker-
he's part of house.
He's
Oh,
part of house construction.
he's
He's
the
the
head guy.
executive project manager.
Yeah, he's from Clearwater, he did Summerlin, he was on the school board.
He's done
Still,
Wayne.
yeah, a bunch of small rural schools.
Basically everything on this corner of the state.
Yeah,
They've
and then
done.
Jeff Berniker, and then they had another guy, right?
No,
Was that Boyd Jones?
There's a Jason Weesey, I think he lives in North Warwick.
John Weezer.
John Weezer.
There you go.
Way off. Anyway. Yep.
Strong agricultural.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
So,
They're both
they
really.
both would have built a fantastic structure. I guess the main thing we were concerned about was the support for the bond. That was our biggest driver, I think, in the selection.
We just thought
You know,
that
all the companies.
Steve and his team might relate just a little bit better.
They've done a lot of schools right up here. So, yeah, the committee, it was really close.
It was close.
Yeah.
Plainview ties on both ends, so it's kind of a hard decision. Appreciate all three coming up, you know, giving us an interview. It's a good process, but I think we're in pretty good hands.
I think so.
We had a Zoom meeting with Steve and Bob and Tobin today. Just first opportunity for us all to talk together, planning a little bit for the meeting on the 22nd. That's a full committee meeting, that's our fourth Monday. So the full committee will start to get highly engaged in priority conversations. Bob is putting together another survey to kind of kick that off. We had one the night of the audit presentation in April in the gym. And that was kind of general. There'll be another one just for the committee to kind of kick off some of their priority conversations that'll happen on the 22nd. We also talked about Farm Bureau a little bit and how to, try to help us avoid what happened with Farm Bureau and Pierce effort.
I think the big thing to avoid that will be to not push for extra gyms. What's the actual, that's the
Well, the problem with the Farm Bureau was they came and had a meeting and they basically presented inaccurate data. They went with 100% assessed values on ag land. That's what they presented to the farmers. So when they talked about tax implications, if you were gonna be taxed, whatever, another $2,000, they said it was gonna be another $4,000. They came back and corrected it in the Norfolk Daily News a week or 2 weeks later, but the damage had kind of already been done. That was one thing that they talked about that went wrong there, it was just inaccurate information that got published, so probably thinking that's gonna happen here too, so we'll just have to make sure at least what everybody thinks of the idea, as long as they have the right information to make their decision, that's the concern.
The Farm Bureau's gonna give correct information now, right? I mean, they're
That's-
aware of it.
Yeah, they're
It
aware.
wasn't intentional.
I don't think it was intentional, no.
They should have known better.
Sounded like it was a young girl.
So, I mean,
Just
they
out of
caught
college.
their errors.
Yeah, I
so
think she just made a
the
mistake.
interaction they have with the farm, we should be good.
Yeah. But that's something they hadn't run into before. They never had.
What about the other two bonds that we passed in the state of Nebraska the same day?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what the issue is.
No.
Yeah, I guess I haven't heard
I
anything.
mean, I feel like we should probably look into that if we really want it to pass and do what they did not do.
Yeah, it'd be a good question, man.
One thing they said, and I don't know if you you were in one of those meetings. They thought that holding a bond election in August was incredibly difficult. Peers wanted to do it because of their fiscal year, but they thought holding a bond was really tough because it was leading up to that. It was hard to keep everybody engaged through the summer months. Everyone's kind of off doing their own thing. Where during school, you can kind of keep people engaged in the know. So they thought they really struggled to keep people engaged. That was one of their responses.
Yeah, that's a big example of what you just said, Chance. Do something to learn from.
Yeah.
Something that they maybe,
So we
in
talked about
hindsight,
that.
would do
We
different.
talked about
Asking
what we do
people
with
to
peers.
vote in August.
Yeah.
They identified as one of the issues that they do different if they did it over again.
So if we approve the action item anyway, you're gonna start seeing them as soon as, I think, another week or so.
They're ready to roll.
They're gonna start doing informational booths at home events. They'll be here and start engaging the public and marketing. So they will hit the ground running.
We can go home with that, so what do you? Just like
Football
yeah,
games, volleyball
oh,
games.
okay.
They'll
Those kind of open.
they'll
Okay.
be,
Probably be here to answer
they're
questions.
gonna do, some career, they're gonna do a career fair, right? They call it, Houston University.
Houston University.
And they even actually are looking for people, kids that recruit, anyone that
Yeah.
maybe are interested anyway.
They offer internships to kids in the
Construction
summer to
field.
come work
Yep.
on the site. They do things to get the kids involved during the school year. They do some cool things for the kids during the process.
Good. Yep. I'm pretty sure they'll probably present it to us probably sometime soon here about everything, what their plan is. They only flashed it up to us for about 2 minutes, right? That's about all we had with that plan, I think, communicate.
But they had one.
They had one.
Yeah,
They
that's
had
pretty
one,
detailed.
thank you.
Not everybody
That's right.
had one.
Not everybody had one, that's right.
You're gonna see some action, we kind of stalled out a little bit waiting for the CM.
Yeah, and now it's gonna
Had
ramp.
to.
Now
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah,
had to.
so I mean,
Yeah.
this would be great.
That was my choice.
Yeah,
We
and
had to.
they're ready. They're ready.
County Lake's gonna ramp up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, we'll move on to number 12, and the activities co-op. Yeah, that committee met last night again with Osmond and committee. We talked last month about having a joint board meeting with the Osmond board. Kind of got that scheduled for September 17th, 6:30 here in Plainview, Tarts Gym.
It's like next Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yes, it is.
And that's the entire board,
It'd
not
be
not committee.
both full boards.
Okay.
Okay.
And we kind of talked about, what the process of what we want to talk about at that meeting, how to set things up.
6:30.
6:30, I think, talked about Saturday.
There you go. Yes.
But heck, if that doesn't work, we can change it. That's the first time that I think they suggested.
They had that time too.
Yeah.
I had that time on my calendar already.
That's already been pushed to the local.
Oh, it has, okay, can't change
Just to recap, I think, at their last board meeting, they passed, that they do a girls wrestling program, recognized.
And bowling.
And bowling. And so, we've kind of talked about that. So we would need to approve that probably at our next special meeting. Thought we could get those through. We don't really think, we haven't heard much about, anybody having too many concerns with those two sports. And they fit really good, just to do those together. So that would be an action item at our next special meeting. I'm confused, 22nd, is that right? So,
It seems like they have a little bit of a mess right now, because like I talked to some of the parents, and they literally have to go to like 4 different things in a day, because they have like one son playing for Wausau,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
kid's in junior high playing for us, or with us, and they have little kids that are in other, I mean, it's just, yeah, like just a nightmare.
Yeah, they have their own sports, co-op sports, and then also sports.
Yeah, and then they have their own home, like volleyball team and stuff, like it's just,
that's, yeah.
that sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible.
So, at this meeting, I guess we'd be discussing, a football co-op for high school. We also thought that another thing that was needed, for sure on their end was a basketball co-op. It might make sense to talk about that at the same time. The other sports we thought could wait, till we get through the bond. So I guess the meeting would basically be dealing with football and a girls and boys basketball co-op.
To be clear, those other sports don't have to be decided this fall to be
Right.
approved. I mean, football's only half.
Football has to.
That's, we're just gonna discuss.
Football and
it.
basketball are the two biggest,
The two
immediate
biggest
needs.
needs, yeah.
So instead of going to the well twice, anyway, and asking twice, we thought, might as well just go ahead and approve those two. And then we can go ahead and maybe shelf it just for a little while, concentrate on the bond anyway, and then come back to everything else, cause like Kate said, we have time. So.
It's like when do you have to approve it for like wrestling?
Until,
Next summer,
October.
Next fall.
Next fall.
Next fall.
So for 26, 27, it's like October 1,
Yeah.
26.
Yeah, and I think fall stuff's June, like volleyball.
So you can't approve wrestling anymore,
Not for this school.
not for this, okay, not even for this school year?
For this year,
Oh,
you could technically.
you could.
That's what,
Yeah.
and we're talking about
I'm
doing
sorry.
that for
Girls.
girls.
But
Girls and boys.
for
Yeah.
girls wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah,
it
I
can
think
be-
that's
We're gonna
October
approve, we're
one.
gonna ask you to consider that on the 22nd during that special
Thinking
meeting.
about doing it this year.
Cause all of those sports I mentioned, they just have like a several
Not this
month
year.
lead time before
Yeah,
that
Next
sport
year,
starts.
this year
and
would
they just
be
kinda
good
shut it.
wrestling.
Every
ball.
season, but football
Next year
has
would be
is
at
many
least-
months prior to wrestling.
Oh, it's
because-
special, okay.
Yes, football is
Okay.
unique.
And
Two year
potentially
cycles, 3-1.
2-year cycle and the state sets schedules. in
Football's the
football.
one big driver there.
Okay, it's
Football's-
a different type of situation
Yeah.
there. You
Football-
guys-
Football's the driver.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the one
Everything else
that's
is
on
year-to-year.
2-year cycle.
Football's 2 years.
Oh, okay, okay.
You gotta vote.
That makes
And
sense.
them passing their girls wrestling, cause they didn't have girls wrestling, and they didn't have NSAA bowling. That was contingent upon us passing, or agreeing to co-op with them. I don't think they'll do it if we don't, which I don't think it's gonna really affect us a whole lot. We already bowl over there. You know, they'd be bringing their girls here to wrestle, and be just a few more girls in the room. Won't change anything in terms of classification or coaching or anything like that.
It'll be part of the unified bowling too. Is that the unified and the spring
Two
bowling?
different things.
That's two different things. Part of
We
both
added
of them or just one
unified.
of them?
We added unified.
We just said, okay.
They added NSAA. They didn't
Okay,
have the.
So they won't be
NSAA.
part of the unified bowling?
They will.
Oh, they will be part of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unified is a fall
Mhm.
sport, and we added that. They added NSAA, which is a winter sport, and I think they'd like to co-op with us on that.
Makes sense.
But we keep a separate unified
Correct.
bowling team. We
That's what it
practice
was.
together.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just- okay.
But for
It was
tournaments, so
because
more
of-
kids can be involved.
Yeah, you can only enter one athlete in districts, and they have 2 or 3, and we will have one. So we'll practice over there, we'll make travel together, but we're just gonna compete.
Okay.
Just so that those kids all get a chance to compete.
Yeah, and we talked about getting a potential timeline worked out on the rest of, when the rest of the activities we talked about. But like I said, to start with, it'd be football and basketball. And they point out, changing numbers, things can change really quickly. That's something we talked about last night. Certain schools, such as like Oakland, state champion football, now they don't even field the team. Ogden was in the same situation where they're in the state championship game of basketball, now they can't field the team 2 years later. So they just said, it needs to be looked at as a long-term vision, not necessarily.
Yeah, right.
Because we're probably gonna have years like that, we may struggle for numbers.
You and I talked about that, just
Mhm.
instead of doing the figure it out every year, just,
Yeah.
you're right, slow off, get this first part done, and then we can figure out some other things, but then also, for those other sports, just have a structured plan going forward together, and then when that plan is executed, it'll just come to an end and we'll be done.
Of all the stuff we've been doing, youth-wise in junior high was real positive.
Yeah, the
Our side.
The turnout in Austin was
the Austin.
amazing during the junior high girls volleyball game.
So it's been going really well.
We, yeah, I mean, just this summer, we did flag football with them. We're doing youth football with them. We're doing junior high football with them. Doing volleyball with them. Got
Good youth volleyball with them.
youth volleyball, we've got 30 or 40 of them coming over for soccer. They said something about, there was a teacher or parent said, Red's a good thing over there. They're happy about it, and they're pretty happy with how it's going. Yeah.
As said, I think red just looks right.
Yeah. And I talked to some of the junior high coaches and they all liked it. I mean, there's not growing, I mean, there's definitely growing pains with it. But heard comments, it's nice to have numbers, we can compete against each other, get better, instead of just practice on air. We're having some space limitations, we got 30 some girls practicing volleyball and targeting, and it's just tight, they don't, I think we talked about that, but, yeah, I think that's maybe a growing pain, but, overall, it's a good problem to have. Junior high volleyball or football are similar, and for youth football.
So kind of what we're thinking is just, have a bit of an introduction, a presentation, real quick with some numbers, the 80s, we can put together, kind of showing why things are needed. And then we have the opportunity for people in the crowd to, whether it be public comment or an informal Q&A. Some of it might stem into, I suppose we'd have public comment to start with, it may spill over into some other Q&A. But I think that's kind of needed. We want us to feel like.
We need to offer some response.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
questions.
Yeah,
That's right. You need to
because
respond.
what are we talking about, doing a presentation before the Q&A?
Yeah.
Right?
I believe so.
No, and then having public comment as well before that, or?
After that.
Oh, right, okay.
Presentation.
I don't think you need to do public comment.
Right,
Q&A,
that's what I was
just a
wondering.
Q&A.
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
do, but you do that after the presentation, so you'll
Yeah.
say answer some of those questions.
Interaction with the public.
Yeah, and you maybe answer some of those questions they would have.
Yeah, it wouldn't be recorded.
Right.
And this will be jumping, more than likely, it'll jump us up to 11-man football, and that's gonna cause, like you thought, some growing pains. There will be some questions about that.
Not set in stone, but look pretty likely.
More than likely, yeah, you're right, unless some enrollment numbers change, will change between now and when we classify, yeah.
I'm pretty sure our coach played 11-man football, so he probably coach it. Yeah.
It's the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Shane. It's nice.
He was on the 11-man team.
I was on the team.
Your next meeting is next Wednesday, 6:30, Tartan Gym.
Yeah, I was there.
I think Jordan's a good place to add.
Yeah, we thought the acoustics were a little better. But, tables set up and crowds to sit.
Good.
Bleachers. So that's what's going on with our activities. Number 13, we need to talk about the possibility of going forward with the football practice field, or do we not prioritize, what we wanna do there, because obviously time's getting short if we are gonna do something. Invested a little more than we thought in, my opinion is we invested a little more than what we thought into design. If we could get by and let the PVCF and the city and paving project get done, and then, do it right another year, is kind of what I'm thinking, I don't know. We've gone around, we've gone around a couple times, so.
Is the land situation I got figured out?
It is.
The city did give us
Yeah.
approval to do whatever.
Yeah, the city did, they took a little criticism and they stuck their necks out anyway to let us develop that land how we wish to do it. If we don't follow through, I don't know if they'll question it or not, but, they did, they put their right foot forward and they're gonna let us use it how we want to use it. There's not enough room on that baseball field, anyway, in my opinion, to adequately practice an 11-man football team. You're gonna be looking at 40+ players probably practicing on that next year. We're gonna have 33 of our own, and probably 8, maybe 10. Am I wrong, Kyle, on that? How many? Come over 8 or 10, maybe
16.
16.
Based off of the current eighth
So
graders. and
it
what
could be
they have.
49 boys out in football next year.
We'll have 41 out for high
41.
school wise.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
16. They're gonna bring in 16 freshmen next year.
Oh, they're not bringing 16. With our incoming freshmen and their 5, so I'm counting our 10 boys, so yes, they would bring over 8, 5.
there's
they would bring over 7 or 8 boys.
Yeah, 8 boys, I think
We'd have 16 new players to our current roster.
Yeah,
is what I'm
Losing
saying.
2 at 16.
Yes.
So, I mean,
There it is.
41, either way, guys, it's tight right now as it is with the numbers we got 27 on the squad. That was never meant to be a permanent solution. That football, Beacon Field wasn't. I know we've practiced there a long time, back and forth. But when Kyle and I first met 7 years ago anyway, he didn't have a good spot to practice. He's tried practicing in the other spot, but again, we've talked about that before. It has gotten tore up from parking, from soccer games and baseball games. It turned into a parking lot instead of a football practice area. So the need's there. But we need, if we're gonna do it this year, it probably need to make a decision tonight.
You either gotta go or get off.
Yeah, if you don't do it tonight, you lose your window, you're gonna have to wait a year. Because you can't do it in the spring, because it'll be bare dirt, and we need to have another thing too, is we need to have a new shot put throwing area, and discus throwing area. And you can't do that in bare dirt, you're throwing it in mud. So, it'll have to wait a year if we don't do it tonight. That's kind of just, so,
So it's city-owned land that they gave us permission to build on.
correct.
Where's it fall that we spend money on land that's not ours? So if we do that, then is it just our practice field then and no other activities can happen on it?
No,
Or
it's
is it-
still city owned.
So it's community ground.
In ground, but I mean,
So-
say the
so-
same thing, it's no different than our current varsity football field though too. I mean, we can't really keep people off of
I
that.
mean, they play soccer games on it?
On the practice
On a
field.
varsity football field.
No, they're not.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, is, I mean, we don't have.
No, we don't have
community
chalk.
events using our track. So that's, so my concern is that we're spending.
I mean, we've done walkathons and stuff
Well, we
like
do-
that.
we do have
Well,
sports on
It's open to the public.
It's open to the public, I mean, it's.
We do use
it's-
sports on our football field.
How are you gonna keep people from parking on
We
that?
fallback is fun youth football.
Okay, no, so that's fine, so we do have community activities happening.
I'm not saying.
On our school grounds.
What?
I'm not saying keep them off of it.
I'm not saying that, I just
I
didn't
don't
know,
wanna
I
put
didn't
money
know
into
that.
it and then have them drive on it.
Well, no, they won't be able
yeah.
to, right now you can't.
They're curbing that
There's a
road,
curb.
so you can't even drive
Yeah,
down
that's-
there.
there's that drive.
That's why that
path there-
space will be available again.
Yeah, it's gone. It'll be nothing more than just grass.
Well,
Like
not
a
to
fence
mention,
or something, so that way you can't do it, like if.
we could
if
figure
it's-
something out.
like
Yeah, you can do
cable or
something like that.
They'll put a chain or something.
Not to,
You can put a short fence
we're
with
talking
chain.
about the football field and track, I mean,
Well,
all of our other youth
using our
sports.
using our tax dollars from our levy and such on a project that then has, is it school now has control of it? And or if not, then does that lean into other things?
I would say, it sounds like from what I gathered, we were at the city council meeting, but it's ours to use how we want to, so I would say we have full control of it.
I guess I didn't understand it the same way, like the
Okay.
policy that I got from the city office said we sold it. I gave you you took a picture of that. We sold it to them in like 1992 or whatever.
Yeah.
And anything that we want to use it for, we have to have their permission and approval. We have their permission and approval right now to do something with the football field. But as far as saying that we have the governance over what happens with that I don't think is accurate. We would have to check with.
Doesn't it go back though to working with the community as a school?
Yeah.
We're kind of trading back and forth a little bit anyway.
The other thing that we would potentially be looking at using that space for, I would hope, would be taking, we're just trying to save our Legion field by getting our football team off there. We'd be trying to take our soccer fields off the little baseball and softball fields, and running them across that field the other way. Potentially having that space be, you could have goals on the outsides of it, running across it. I don't know.
My concern is we have stakeholders that aren't, part of the Plainview community, but they are paying the taxes on it. So they're gonna be paying taxes for a field in Plainview, the community, for the city to benefit from. We're doing the work, we're putting all that work into that land. So, how do you justify to them, hey, you need, your tax dollars are gonna go into.
Well, you're running into the same conversation we had on the bond then.
Well,
Well, the bond is the school and your role. I mean, but like our school, we have control over. We have control over our school. You have control over the football field. We will not have control over that practice.
so I pay taxes in Cedar County. It goes to 4 schools, 4 school districts. That's just kind of how that goes. Like
I know, but to the school district, I'm just saying to be just like us putting the school putting a bunch of money into the park for whatever reason. Is that reasonable? Would it be, and that's far-fetched. I'm just saying, how do you I'm just trying to rationalize, those questions, how do you rationalize that? So if you just like, be like the school, put $70,000 into the school, into the city park, for whatever reason.
For horseshoe kids.
And then we don't have control over it, and the community, and then the city and everything takes care of, that type of thing. How do you rationalize that check out? Whether it's, now I don't know if it's legal or not, that's one of my concerns, is we're putting almost $70,000, almost $100,000 into something that we don't have control over. I understand the working with the community and such, but that's a lot of money. That's roughly $130,000, $150,000 that we would now invest into the football track.
Where do you get the 150?
You got $60,000 into a video board.
Okay, we're talking about this.
But I'm just talking, it's like this large investment into those sports. And then, are we doing those same, are we giving other things the same consideration when it comes to putting money towards it?
I think so. I mean, one thing that we've denied, or we haven't approved, anyway, that's came across our table, anyway, it's been requested. I can't come up with one. The 6.5 years I've been on here, anything that's been in front of us for music, one acts, academics, it's been approved, no debate at all. Just stuff like this tends to draw a little more attention, honestly, a little more scrutiny.
We don't have anywhere else to go. That's really our only option.
We don't have any.
That is it.
Besides
There's
turf
one patch of
field.
grass down there that everybody wants to utilize, and it's that Legion outfield. It's the biggest patch of grass.
We have
there
another
is.
place to go that was our property.
Does it have to cost $70,000 though, for a patch of grass?
Well, it's, Kyle, you broke it out, I think Helping Construction came down with 42,000 for the dirt, right? And for the
Grading.
leveling and the grading, that's gonna be the biggest expense out of that. I mean, it's
Or we put it on a turf field on the regular field and just practice there.
it's 1.2 million.
I mean, that's an alternative.
That's not even alternative.
I mean,
You want injuries, go ahead and launch. That's unrealistic.
Yeah. But I guess for what you get out of it, and for the decades that you'll be able to use it, is 70,000 really that much
So-
of an investment? It's really not.
But like every school has a practice football field, but nobody is practicing on their game field because you can't, you literally can't do it because it's just be a mud pit
Yeah.
on Friday night. I mean, it's just the way, it's a cold hard truth.
The agreement we have with the city on that land is for basically stuff that is east of the baseball field. The baseball field is not a part of that agreement. Realistically, the school could get kicked off there any day. If the ball backers or the city of Plainview, whoever, decided enough's enough, they're spending money on seed and all that every year. If you ever try to take a ground ball out there, it's miserable.
So the ball fields are not necessarily part of that agreement?
No, they're not.
Including softball fields?
Correct.
So the whole agreement is just for that little part of it?
Yeah.
That's the only piece of land we sold to them? It's just that, where they have to do the shopping for that? Okay.
Yeah, that's not a part of the agreement with the city, it's that space that we're discussing. Baseball fields, none of that is a part of that, so it's just by the city working with us for all these years that we're able to practice out there. So that's kind of the back and forth there.
And there's a gray area there too, because ball backers have put in tens of thousands of dollars in sprinkler systems and
Yeah.
infrastructure there. It's all that there, they've got substantial investment. They're letting us use it too right now, let the school use it too. School benefits from all that.
We benefited for 20 or
Yeah,
30 years.
to me, it's less about control and more about benefactors, who's gonna benefit from it the most would be the school. If the city uses it, it's gonna be probably for youth soccer.
Can we spend our money that way? Can we legally spend our money that way though? We know we can do that. That's.
Sure, until somebody wants to lawyer up, and then have us lawyer up, And you see how it comes out. You know, I mean, there are city-school agreements in every small town. And if somebody wants to go nitpick and say, you spent a couple of dollars on something here and there in the other place, you know, so.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
All of our youth sports use the school facilities.
We've never had a permanent solution down here, never. Here's our one opportunity, because we're finally having a major infrastructure change with regard to the paving of Lincoln, and so now there will not be parking on that east lot. So that east lot is just gonna sit there and deteriorate. At some point in time, we'll come to some agreement, and it will become a permanent practice field for us, whether we have to have the city cede that land to us, so it's our property, so that we, you know, don't have a confusion of whether we can invest in it or not, and you wanna spend a couple of years to generate funds to pay for it. So it's gonna happen sometime. Wyatt's point is, you know, we're gonna lose a whole year just at a time where we're gonna increase our football squad by significant numbers. So.
And it'll be more next year. No, it'll be less. It'll not be less.
If I had not.
Cost-wise, you mean?
Cost, but yeah, it'll be more.
It always is.
If I had not heard this with my own ears, I would be concerned. I was there at the meeting when I heard this discussion, so I'm less concerned about that.
The control issue. I mean, I'm only concerned about the control issues, I just didn't know if we can, I mean.
You're worried about the
I'm learning all the
details.
financial stuff, and I'm like, geez, like, we can't do this, we can't put money in this fund can only do these things, and so that's what I'm saying is, can we just write a check and just build on someone else's land, and that's okay? That's my concern. I don't see that, I feel legally there's gotta be some issue there, maybe there isn't. But it'd be no different than me just investing $80,000 into the park for something, and then that's just okay. That's my concern.
Well, and it's a valid concern.
And I just don't know if we've
Like,
looked
yeah.
into that. We've got the permission, but does the state of Nebraska allow us to use our money that way? Can we just build something on your farm, and is that okay, as long as the school uses it?
Sure, so, yeah, you could say the school property on my farm, for example, you could actually you could put a grain bin on my farm, right, and call it yours, right? You got to list it, taxed on it, anyway, on somebody else's property, correct? Yeah.
I can do that.
You can do that.
Can the school do that? Can the school put up a grain bin, or for FFA purposes or something, is that okay, even though it's not on the land? That's my concern.
I understand that, but
That's a little different because we're not taking ownership necessarily of that.
Okay, so I put up a grain bin on his farm, I don't own it, but I get use of it.
But in that situation, you don't.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, right, but in that
Not-
situation, you're taking ownership. In this situation, we're not necessarily taking ownership.
Right, so we're just putting money into something we don't own, and I just don't
Yeah,
know if
I get
that's
that.
appropriate.
Yep.
Now, and now the city would just sell us the land. If they just say, hey, you can have, buy the land back for another $10, that negates the entire issue. It's just the fact it's not ours. And we're putting money on it.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's a need, it's just.
I don't argue the need part,
I don't know that it's a need either.
it's a significant investment to not know if that's okay to do or not do.
State gives a lot of leeway to local school districts to work with their community. Now, having said that, I don't know of any document that would authorize us to do it. I'm sure if somebody wanted to, we don't own Lincoln Avenue.
no, we don't.
It's a street.
I could talk about the ball backers that spend tens of thousands of dollars down there on the city-owned property. And we don't seem to have a problem with it.
But you're not spending tax dollars, though.
No, I'm not spending public tax dollars, you're correct. No, we're a nonprofit organization though, anyway, we take donations. We do what we can anyway, improve city property, we don't talk about it, because it's for the benefit of the community and for the boys and for the girls that utilize it, so. I guess maybe that's where I blur the lines, I view it that way.
Would a $250 call to your attorney help us?
In the next
Or
5 minutes.
Maybe do a $150 email instead?
Not the next 10 minutes.
Well, it's still just a discussion item.
take action.
You take action.
I guess for me, it's looking at the bigger picture. And I was at that meeting and I heard that conversation. I mean, it's still, I agree with you on the risk. It is a risk. Long-term, what is our goals? Long-term, what do we want to see happen here? And the sports co-op is just the beginning of a very long conversation of what can happen in our future.
I understand
And
that.
city cooperation is it's vital to everything that we have going forward.
I understand, and you're saying long-term, and this is a long-term decision, but we're making a very, very quick and rash decision to do it.
Well,
Right
we
now,
could-
we're not taking the time to make sure that we can do this.
We could make a motion tonight anyway, to go ahead and budget the improvements, and make the improvements on that. These are gonna contingent upon, anyway, call our lawyer, anyway, which we probably do tomorrow, anyway. And then if it all checks out there, Dr. All can send us an email, anyway, and up construction, and then could go ahead and whenever it fits their schedule, they can start tearing into it.
So do we have a copy of their bid? When we want to see, do you have a copy of their bid? Or I guess the project, because, is that 70 grand just for dirt? I guess there's more involved, obviously. It's not just dirt.
You presented it to us.
Or 40,000 in dirt.
Yeah.
There's 32,000 to 37 to 42,000 just for the dirt work. That's what Hood gave me. He said it would be more towards the lower, but gave me the upper number just because of pulling concrete out if he had to, which they did with the street already, so it would probably be lower. I got a hold of Luke last night, Schlowski. He said it'd be anywhere from 22 to 2,500 for just seeding and fertilizer and all that stuff. And then sprinklers, he took that out of it. That was 15 to 18,000.
And that is not in the equation anymore,
No.
not for right now. Then
So it's not.
who's responsible for mowing it?
The city is.
The city is.
Yes. They've always mowed that area in the fields and whatnot.
You don't wanna, we don't wanna approve the sprinklers.
So the sprinklers
You
dropped
can.
down
I
to
just
like
need to.
50-some thousand, right?
Don't
It
you
wasn't
think?
the 70,000
Because
originally
if
with
we
the
seed it, we
sprinklers.
can get it to grow this fall. So they
I think it was
potentially
70,000 all
spring.
in and would cover the entire
Will you
project,
cut-
and it would be
look at
more
if
than
it
what we
rains 30
needed.
inches next July?
It'd be great if it did, but I don't know.
And you can't do
I have
that.
concerns with putting it in without the sprinklers.
I agree, you can't rain on Nebraska, not where we live.
Just go ahead, what's the difference if it's all the same budget cycle?
Exactly.
Do it now. or-
Isn't it easier to put the sprinklers in like right before you drill it?
Yeah.
Or do you do it after you drill it? 'Cause I think you put it before, don't you?
You grade it all, you put your sprinklers in, and you seed over top. And you water it.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is if we don't have adequate practice space, here, now we're shipping our boys over to Osborne next month. That's something I'm more worried about. If we do move forward with anything in the high school, I don't think Plainview people are gonna be too fond of seeing.
Aren't we shipping junior high over right now?
Yeah, but I think high school's different.
That's more balanced though.
Yeah.
We
They're
try
there if we
33
need.
boys over there
Yeah.
next fall for
Yeah,
their
33 to their 80.
We'll be like backing up for a game.
Cause they have a much nicer practice, they have a nice practice field.
They did, right now, junior high and varsity, they both practice at the same time. They can't shoot in the same space at the same time. Yeah.
That's just another factor on the timing of it. But
So if everything was on the high side, it'd be 62.5. So like 42,000 for dirt, 2,500 for seeding,
Fertilizer.
and 18 for
sprinklers.
sprinklers. Does that include the labor for him to seed and the seed? That's not just the seed.
I believe so.
For him to do it.
Because when I initially asked him for sprinklers, seed, fertilizer, drilling, all of it, I asked him if 25,000 would cover all that, he said yes. Cause he said 18.5 for the sprinklers was what he gave me.
Drilling, is only $125 an acre. That's all it is.
out too.
Absolutely.
Unlike the scoreboard.
Agreed.
That turned out quite a bit more, in the end. And that was kind of a hasty decision too. You know, hopefully we're not gonna run into something else like that. I should spray that dry, put dirt, seed it.
Do we wanna see if it's contingent upon the legality, or do we wanna see if the city would sell it to us? What would be better?
Well, if they sell it to us, then we're gonna have to mow it.
And do we let soccer play on it?
This soccer thing, I can see, this would be just like us running our gym or allowing,
Right.
events and stuff, and that'd be very similar, but we have, we have control over it, so the school would say, yes, we allow, that's okay. So now, the community's at the mercy of the school versus the school being at the mercy of the community. Because the city at any point could just say, hey, you guys can no longer be on the practice field. I mean, we don't have anything written saying after we invest this kind of money into it, so I mean, those are things about.
The original agreement allows for the school to be on there whenever.
That would, you're true, you're right.
So that.
That agreement would
technically-
extend on to
They
it.
technically do have that control.
Yeah, you're
They're able to
exactly
play
right.
on it whenever they want.
So, I would definitely say put a contingent in there on that. I mean, I don't see any reason why we wanna be approving the use of our funds in a non-legal or a risky way.
So we make the motion and we say contingent upon the legality of the ownership of the.
Ownership or
It's not the ownership, just the use of
Tax
our
dollars.
tax dollars.
The legality of the use of the tax dollars to improve city grant. That sound fine?
For the school benefit.
Okay, and we're gonna make a motion for improvements to football practice field area up to 65,000. 62.5 is what we had,
Yeah, I'd
added
go
just a
a little
little
more.
bit.
I go more than that.
65,000. That'll cover it, right, Kyle? 65,000.
I had top number at 67. The
67.
absolute top.
The absolute top.
Go 70. like
Now
that.
we should go under, they can do it for 65, that's 2,000. And it won't be just.
A lot out of it.
It's not
It's
just-
out of Luke's, that was out of Luke's pocket, it's a lot. He's independent.
He does the grass, right?
He does the grass and sprinklers.
No, I guess Huffman up there. It's not just football, though, right? This is.
Track.
Track.
No, I mean, it's we're gonna have, do we have expenses on like or is that gonna be separate now, the shot
Shot.
put deal and all that?
That'll be separate. There's a war pad.
Or is that in the same area or is that in a different area?
Discus will be in that area, shot put will be in separate. We'll have 2 discus rings.
So I guess it'd be good to know if we can do that. on the-
8 by 8.
You're
8 by 8
But
pads.
it's already there.
It's there.
And I don't know,
Just has to
was
be
it there when
done.
we sold it to them or did we put that in?
Should have been there for as long as I can remember, so.
Yeah, I guess, but how many had your contingent?
What are we moving shot put to?
Right field foul fence was my plan.
Okay.
If the shot put it over the right full fence. In there.
We just need to come up with the right wording.
Okay, so.
Somebody got it. They heard it. Right
Just
field.
south of
The
the-
project, and they're gonna start.
Oh.
I'll make,
Lincoln Street.
I'll make a
Yeah,
motion.
kinda goes on
Yeah.
that anyway.
Confirm the legality.
Yeah.
Throw out the
Oh.
They're gonna start this year.
That's the goal. If they start this year, we can maybe be on it for track season.
And when I measured it out.
Get the seed to grow.
Yeah.
Grass.
So that way during meets we can grow.
It's gonna be risky, that very first track
It'll be-
meet,
it'll be
throwing
pushing
discus
it.
on that.
It'll be pushing it.
When are we?
Worst case scenario, we don't
approving
have
the shot
discus
put
available.
discus area? When's that gonna be presented to us?
To invest in the cement for that, is what you're saying, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the, sorry, I don't mean to stall that.
You're not talking a whole lot of dollars, you're not talking about a 10 by 10 concrete.
I know, but
pad
when
there.
we,
No, so that's not a lot of money.
Are you asking when we do that?
I just didn't know when that was gonna be brought up, but go ahead.
It's
I
actually,
don't wanna stall that.
that'll probably be underneath the $5,000 limit, we wouldn't have to probably prove anything, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's just even close to that.
That's 700.
I guess if it does have some, then obviously.
I think we're fencing and stuff too, so.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve funds of 67,000, anyway, to improve and designated as a football practice field contingent upon the legality of spending public tax dollars on city-owned land. Sound fine?
In our tax rate.
Public tax dollars, school district tax dollars, okay? To improve city-owned land, okay?
I'll second it.
Okay?
Read that, contingent to the legality of.
School,
Word that.
school district tax dollars to improve city-owned land,
Not to exceed 67,000?
not to exceed
Correct.
67,000.
So you're moving to improve the football practice field, not to exceed $67,000 contingent upon legality of school district tax dollars being used on city-owned.
I've got it recorded.
You got it recorded, okay.
I'll get you the precise.
Is that something reasonable, Dr. Arlen, in the language?
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. So I should have an answer for you by noon tomorrow.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second then to improve a football practice field, improvement to a football to the football practice field, contingent to the legality of school district tax dollars to improve city land, not to exceed $67,000. Is that right?
I believe so. Yep.
All right, any other discussion? Not, we'll vote. Wyatt?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Chance?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carried 6-0. Okay, next thing on the agenda is our Lincoln Avenue paving project update.
So I talked to Mr. Carr today, he's 90% sure, based on weather forecast, that we'll be able to use the west gate for the game on Friday, parking in the alfalfa field. And folks will be able to walk in that west gate. May have to navigate a space that's gonna be the sidewalk that runs east and west along the backside of the grandstand, from gate to gate essentially, from King Street to West Gate. So that's a very positive thing. Things are moving along, so you just gotta kinda go down and see for yourself, I guess, on any given day, to see how they're doing. Obviously, well behind schedule, but, when things are out of your control, you just accept it, and that's the way it is. So, hopefully, we'll be able to park there next week on the 19th, the game on the 19th. That's maybe a 50-50 proposition at this point, so it's progressing well. It'll be spectacular when it's done. I did include in your folder a document from the engineer that gave his best guesstimate of the actual percentage breakdown of expenses of the entire project. So he told Jeremy and I this a couple of months ago. That's why we came up with a 50-50 shared expense. We asked him just to put it in writing for you. So you have that in your folder, not your packet, but in your folder.
Yeah, thanks for putting that in there.
Yeah.
That's been a pretty point.
Yeah, maybe we should have the paper publish that.
Has there been any, I know we've done some change orders and such with that project, but it's all stated, that button stated in their
Yeah,
budget?
I haven't had a change order with an actual documented amount presented to me. They had to do a couple things different. One of them was at their expense. We did a change order at the King Street, Lincoln Avenue corner. But they thought they expected that to be a wash. That was a conversation I had 2 weeks ago. Because they were gonna take out a sidewalk, but they were gonna change the drain, so it was gonna be a wash. Haven't had any conversation since then on change orders.
Nothing changing the amount that we've been told?
No.
Okay.
What about the fence?
Say again.
The fence that we took
Yeah,
out?
yeah, fence came out, so, this did add, some level of concrete, because, they initially were gonna take the fence out, and the concrete was gonna go up to the fence, and we were gonna have a 3-foot grass strip all the way down the north side of the track. They realized they had to take it out for drainage on the west curb and spillway. And so they thought, not only for aesthetics, but for functionality, let's do the same thing on the east side of the north, east side of bleachers. So that'll be concrete all along that around to about the scoreboard, right? Right adjacent to the track. So the fence had to come out for that purpose. Fence will go back in. That could be a change order expense that'll be done, is to reinstall the fence into concrete.
No, we're not, you gave nothing, significant.
Well, I don't know, things always cost more than you expect. I've never had to have fencing done, so, that'll be an additional expense that we will share. It's on our track, but we agreed in the outset, any change orders should be shared 50/50.
Down there for the first game, you know, all the alumni, 05 team down there, a lot of those guys were complimenting how it looked down there, how great that would be down that road paved, how it'll improve functionality.
Yeah.
Had a lot of Osmond people down there, saying the same thing, they thought it looked nice, a lot of young kids were excited to come play there, it was kinda cool.
It's a good improvement for city and school, like, without question. I can't imagine somebody will be disappointed, when it's all done and they get to use it.
Will there be stop signs, you know, somewhere?
That's a city, decision, but I don't know. They'll probably have a conversation about that and or, speed bumps.
Well, there was always a speed bump there.
That's a speed dip.
That's a nice little ramp.
Yeah. Are we still planning on closing that street during games?
I expect that we will.
Okay.
Just
With all the kids
like we
running.
always, especially now that it's will be a much more active through street. There's even more reason, I believe, to go ahead and flag it off for those 5 or 6 or more home varsity games.
Yeah. I think that's why, it's just with the kids running
Yep.
everywhere.
Okay, thanks for the update.
Great.
Yep.
15.
You sure table that if you want.
I think that would be great.
I'm gonna get to
Not that it would take
back
very
here.
long, but
Nope.
quite honestly, if I want to direct your attention to each of those, they're just review.
Let's table 15 then. Okay, move on to action items. Discuss and take possible action on approving the 25-26 fiscal year budget for Plainview Public Schools.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 25-26 Plainview Public Schools budget as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and second to adopt the 25-26 Plainview Public Schools budget as presented. Roll call, myself, yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Kaden?
Yes.
Chance?
Yes.
Melissa? Justin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried 6-0. Number 17, discuss and take possible action approving the 25-26 fiscal year tax request for Plainview Public Schools.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 25-26 Plainview Public Schools tax request and levy amounts as presented.
Second.
Kaden. Moved and seconded to adopt the 25-26 Plainview Public Schools tax request and levy amounts as presented. Roll call, Justin.
Yes.
Melissa.
Yes.
Chance.
Yes.
Kaden.
Yes.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carried 6-0. Number 18, discuss and take possible action approving the annual huddle subscription in the amount of $8,500.
That's the same price it's been in the past, no changes.
It's a $500 increase, so it's been $8,000 for my first 6 years here, and a $500 increase this year.
And what's the difference in the two subscriptions? You have one that allows everyone to have access to it, and then the other one, if I wanna watch a game, I have to have a subscription, right?
That's
Oh, NFHS.
Yeah, there you go.
You can make it so people charge. Traditionally, our booster clubs picked up half the huddle bill if we keep it from charging, so we don't get any money off of it. But that has nothing to do with our subscription or whatever, it's still be the
You
same.
don't have to have a huddle account to watch.
No, but some schools you have to have a little
Yeah,
account to watch.
that's-
Some schools charge, yep, so we don't, ours is free.
That's just on the school to decide if they
Yep.
want. Oh, okay.
Yep, yep. So if at some point you wanna change it to where you have to buy a subscription, but everybody I've talked to loves that we keep it open, so.
I'll make a, what is that here? I'll make a motion to approve the annual subscription to Huddle in the amount of $8,500.
Second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the annual subscription to Huddle in the amount of $8,500. Discussion? Not, Chance?
Yes.
Melissa? Justin?
Yes.
Self, yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. 19, discuss and take possible action on setting class, building, grade level, or program capacity limits for the enrollment option request for 26-27.
This is the third year according to Nebraska statute that we established this for next school year. March 15th is the deadline for enrollment option request for 26-27. I sent you a digital copy, I think, on Friday. Disregard that one. I put a new hard copy in your folder. New hard copy in your folder that's numbered number 19, which has the actual, the anticipated enrollment numbers, capacity limits, and the room that we would have to accept any enrollment option. It's really a non-issue for us, for the most part, as it is honestly quite for most schools. There's about, maybe 15 to 20 schools in Nebraska that have a massive enrollment option, and they are dependent upon that to a great extent. State's been very concerned about schools declining requests, and so this is just a little oversight on the state's part. So we're required to do this. It's really a non-issue, but I do need you to approve those numbers.
The reason for the different opt-in numbers, just because of just capacity? Or just,
Yes,
yeah.
just anticipated capacity on reasonable classroom numbers. Obviously, the elementary is a different animal than the high school. You can absorb much greater numbers in the high school than you can in elementary classrooms. So, and K1, 2, you notice, yes, K1, 2, we have higher numbers because we have 2 teachers.
Yeah, because like this year's third grade class was 26 kids all in one classroom.
Yeah. So if somebody requests to come in, if you pass this, we can, I'm authorized to deny the request, because we're full.
But if somebody moves here, you have to.
If they move here, theirs.
Yeah, but if they're out of district.
If they're out of district and want to join that class, we can say that class is at capacity.
Yeah, it is at capacity.
I'll make a motion to approve classroom capacity limits applied to option enrollment request for the 2026-2027 school year as presented.
Second. Melissa, you got it.
Melissa?
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve classroom capacity limits applied to option enrollment requests for 26-27 school year as presented. Any discussions? Myself, yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Chance?
Yep.
Melissa?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried 6-0. Number 20, discuss and take possible action approving the 3-year HVAC maintenance agreement with Facility Advocates in the amount of $32,924.
This is an amount paid in 6 installments over 3 years. It's actually less than the previous 3-year agreement, and it includes coil cleaning, which was outside of the agreement in the previous 3 years.
Less than the 3 years.
It's less than it was the previous year.
Pay less and get more.
Essentially, yes, it makes no sense, so I would hurry up and approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the 3-year HVAC
Real
maintenance
quick,
agreement.
This doesn't
is
come across.
$32,924 the total of the 6 installments, or is that?
That's the
each
total of the
installment?
6 installments.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'll make a motion to approve the 3-year HVAC maintenance agreement with Facility Advocates in the amount of $32,924.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the 3-year HVAC maintenance agreement with Facility Advocates in the amount of $32,924. Any other discussion? Not, Melissa?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
Myself? Yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Chance?
Yep.
Okay, motion carried 6-0. And number 21, discuss, consider and take all necessary action with regard to the findings and recommendations of the selection committee for the position of construction manager at risk for potential elementary and high school additions and renovations project.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution to enter into a contract with Housing and Construction for a potential elementary and high school additions and renovations project.
I'll second.
I think I've got to read
Yep,
the resolution.
we got a first and a second, now read the resolution. Yep, prior to.
We didn't explain this, but just real quick, guys, anyway, just our lawyer capped their, if we wouldn't have to pass the bond anyway, our total out, anyway, basically our only payout will be $10,000, okay? That's it.
If we don't.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we discussed.
Yeah, we just wanna make sure that,
The $10,000.
if anybody asks you, you know, it's only $4,000, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is different than those other agreements, because if we let them begin after on a second bond, we'd have to pay them, you know. No, they just.
No, they stick with
They'll
it.
stick with the same way that.
They all stick with it.
Stick with it.
Okay. Okay.
They said they've
built-
basically stuck
So they built us
every
a school.
school through
They
to completion
built us a
of
school.
bond, with the exception of one, and they just decided not to give it another go. They
The
stuck-
school decided not to.
The school did.
So that's
They
the same as
stuck
those
with
other
it.
agreements with the, like, people that are working, help us pass, or do the bonds and stuff.
Same.
It's a
Yeah.
flat fee. Okay.
Yep, they've got it.
So just
Initial.
wanna explain that, okay?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, any other discussion about that? All right, if not, I'll read the resolution. Be it resolved by Pierce County School District 70-005, also known as Plainview Public Schools, a public school district under the laws and statutes of the state of Nebraska. This regular meeting of its Board of Education, the findings and recommendation of the selection committee of the Board of Education with regard to the ranking and recommendation of the construction manager at risk for a potential elementary and high school additions and renovations project. As presented in this meeting and attached hereto should be, and is hereby received, adopted, and approved. Be it further resolved that, based upon the findings and recommendations of the selection committee, the Board of Education of this school district should and does hereby rank the finalist firms submitting proposals in order of preference for the position of construction manager at risk for the project as follows. First, Housman Construction. Second, Boyd Jones Construction. Third, Kingery Construction. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education of this school district should and hereby does authorize, direct, and delegate to the President of the Board of Education, Superintendent of Schools, or other designee, and project legal counsel to negotiate a contract with the highest ranked firm identified above for the project according to the Board of Education policy on terms and conditions deemed in the best interest of the school district, and then upon completion of such negotiation and all other terms, conditions, and requirements of law, policy, and practice, or the invitation for proposals requisite to entering into a contract, present all appropriate contract documents for contract adoption and approval by the Board of Education. So, it's been moved and seconded to adopt this resolution to enter into contract with Housman Construction for potential elementary and high school additions and renovations project. Go ahead, roll call, myself, yes, Justin?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Chance? Yep. Hayden?
Yes.
And Wyatt? Yes. Okay, approved 6-0. Move on to reports, activities director report.
Fall sports are underway. There's the plan for homecoming next week, so that's kind of what the week will look like. So, there you go.
It's great. Blank page.
Okay, 23 principals report.
Living the dream. There's not a whole lot we have to say for this month right now, so we're working on finishing up our testing, and that's,
Everything good so far?
yeah. It is.
Put that in
Probably
minutes.
way too early for any feedback from your teachers about the phonics.
We, Crystal just said that the little preschoolers are loving it. They call it their word work, but, everybody has the Haggerty stuff in their hands and are able to implement it. The CKLA stuff showed up this week, so
Good.
the materials are in their hands.
Good.
I will be able to give you better feedback next month.
Thank you.
No nightmare dreams too.
Nightmares and dreams too. That's the only kind I have.
All right, thanks, guys. President's report, just a reminder of that meeting with Osmond on the 19th, or the 17th, sorry, at 6:30. Put it on your calendar. That's all I've got.
We're doing tartan.
Tartan, that'll be the next one. 25 superintendent's report.
Two things that I put in your folder that I just want to make sure bring your attention to. Your GNAC pass was in there. That is good for holder only. That's not holder and spouse. It's not a family pass. That's holder only to all GNAC activities, home and away. I put in there a color picture of the football field. That was from last summer. Next, it doesn't look like that this summer because we got some good rains. I'm probably gonna be asking you in the spring to finish that watering project on the football field. Especially if we can turn into an 11-man field. So just wanted you to see what it looks like in drought years. State conference agenda packet was in your folder. That's November 19th, 21st, so I'll be talking with you definitely in October about registering you for that. Hopefully that works on your calendar. That is the best PD for school boards of the year. Gave you an enrollment breakdown. There's a TOSA chart in there for you. If you can make sense of that, let me know. Glossary of the budget and fund descriptions, and also that Lincoln Avenue paving breakdown. That was all in your folder. I had SRO on here, that stands for School Resource Officer. Some schools invest in those. I'm not asking us to invest in an SRO, School Resource Officer, but in speaking with the chief, she's like, I want to be more visible in school. I said, well, heck, chief, we'd love to have you here at any time. So I said, you know what, we may really call you our SRO, but you're really not under contract or contractual obligation or anything. We love to have her around. We've had to call her twice for student health issues because, you know, sometimes we're just like, you know what, we've got students that don't listen to him, don't listen to her, don't listen to me. We call the chief, and she'll put her hands on them, and she'll call the parents. Parents don't get upset at the chief, they get upset at us. When we say, parents, your child is out of control, they won't listen to us, we need you to come. And so we're gonna utilize the chief as much as we can as an SRO. There's some new staff, I mentioned to you last month before, we were still looking at need a sped van driver and a couple of paras. So these folks are working into our system supporting kids. I wanna make sure staff who have, I don't know what talent key means. These 5 teachers have spent time away from school to get certified to drive our new 14-passenger activity bus that will be coming, that requires an 11-hour training to drive it. And so I had Mr. Schmidt ask all of our staff, all of our coaching staff, hey, we really need you to go do this because we need you to drive this bus. And so these folks, and we have more registered for this training. The delivery of that activity bus has been pushed back to January, but I just want to give a shout out to our teachers who spent a full Saturday in Albion to get certified in a pupil transportation certification. We've been invited to present at the Labor Relations Conference on October 1st and 2nd with Brian Luther for our school district, working with the PPEA to provide them a 403B retirement incentive. So we are unique in the state of Nebraska, and at Labor Relations, where our negotiations team, I had you registered to go. Hopefully that works in your calendar, but you do have a spot reserved as well as a room, and we will present. You don't, it's Brian and I, but you will certainly be welcome to attend that, but I'd rather have you attend something where you learn something. But so that's good. Plainview is a pioneer in this area statewide. ESSA grant is complete. High school headlines, try to catch 106 Kicks Mondays at 3:50. Mondays at 3:50, you will hear some of our students sharing essentially their version of the Sunday night call to all of Northeast Nebraska. One meeting on district vacation and sick balance. That is all I have for you.
Motion adjourned?
I used to just say adjourn.
I didn't think I should actually.
I'll make an motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.